Hey, check this out, guys. So I haven't read this particular book right here that I'm thinking about in, since the 90s. I have not read this since the 90s, okay? But I remember it vividly, every single detail, especially the beginning of this book. Here, I'm going to show you. Let me show you the beginning of this book. This has been in my head for the past few days. The map is Europe. This is where this takes place, right there. Here, I'll show you the whole map. During the last ice age. All right, so this is a fiction. What happened during the last ice age? Let me get you right here to the beginning. This will be quick, guys, because it happens right here in the beginning. You see, blah blah blah. It's a child. She leaves her place and goes up to the stream, go play in the river, right? And here, the girl played for a while, swimming back and forth, then let the current float her downstream. Where the river widened and bubbled over the rocks, she stood up and waded to the shore, then walked back to the beach and began sorting pebbles. She had just put a stone on top of a pile of especially pretty ones when the earth began to tremble. The child looked with surprise as a stone rolled down of its own accord and stared in wonder at the small pyramid of pebbles shaking and leveling themselves. Only then did she become aware she was shaking too, but she was still more confused than apprehensive. She glanced around, trying to understand why her universe had altered in some inexplicable way. The earth was not supposed to move. The small river, which moments before had flowed smoothly, was roiling with choppy waves that splashed over its banks as the rocking streambed moved at cross purposes to the current, dredging mud up from the bottom. Brush close by the stream, by the upstream banks quivered, animated by unseen movement at the roots, and downstream boulders bobbed in unaccustomed agitation. Beyond them, stately conifers of the forest into which the stream flowed lurched grotesquely. A giant pine near the bank, its roots exposed and their hold weakened by the spring runoff, leaned toward the opposite shore. With a crack, it gave way and crashed to the ground, bridging the turbid watercourse, and lay shaking on the unsteady earth. The girl stared at the ground of the falling tree. Falling. It's still falling. Her stomach churned and tightened into a knot as fear brushed the edge of her mind. She tried to stand but fell back, unbalanced by the sickening swaying. She tried again, managed to pull herself up, and stood unsteadily, afraid to take a step. As she started toward the hide cover shelter, set back from the stream, she felt a low rumble rise to a terrifying roar. A sour stench of wetness and rot issued from a crack opening in the ground like the reek of morning breath from a yawning earth. She stared uncomprehendingly at dirt and rocks and small trees falling into the widening gap as the cooled shell of the molten planet cracked in the convulsions. The lean-to, perched on the far edge of the abyss, tilted as half the solid ground beneath it pulled away. The slender ridgepole teetered undecidedly, then collapsed and disappeared into the deep hole, taking its hide cover and all contained with it. The girl trembled in wide-eyed horror as the foul breath gaping maw swallowed everything that had given meaning and security to the 5 short years of her life. "Mother, mother!" she cried as comprehension overwhelmed her. She didn't know if the scream ringing in her ears was her own in the thunderous roar of the rending rock. She clambered toward the deep crack, but the earth rose up and threw her down. She clawed at the ground, trying to find a secure hold on the heaving, shifting land. Then the gap closed, the roar ceased, and the shaking earth stilled, but not the child. Lying face down in the soft, damp soil, churned loose by the paroxysm that convulsed the land, she shook with fear. She had reason to fear. The child was alone in a wilderness of grassy steppes, scattered forests. Glaciers spanned the continent on the north, pushing their cold before them. Untold numbers of grazing animals and the carnivores that preyed on them. Blah, blah, you get the point, and she is now alone. So what just happened? A great earthquake, and she is now by herself.